Hello everyone, welcome to Around Town, and we are at Matt's Auto Service here on Van Born in Dearborn Heights with the owner, Matt Schloff. Welcome to Around Town.
Thank you very much. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and well, you know what, maybe not too well because I know winter's coming, and winter is not my favorite time of the year. And I know when winter comes, there's so many issues that we have with our car. And absolutely, and there's things that you have to do before winter, so you have to prep your car for that. So what are some of the things that you would do on a basic car coming in and say, please winterize my car? Is it like a boat?
More or less. It's anything needs maintenance. As you use them, they wear, things deteriorate, and if you catch it before it gets too bad, things will be much better.
Absolutely.
So for little tiny things that we would need to do would be like check fluids. Look at the battery, see what type of condition it's in. If it's got green fuzz on it and it's leaking acid or something to that effect, we know it's going to fail soon. And the last thing you want is to be in the wintertime with a dead battery freezing.
Absolutely. Well, I know with boats, you actually have to take them out of the water, take them to the marina, get them winterized. So, I mean, is that a necessity with cars, or is that maybe an option?
Deteriorate as age goes on. Coolant's one of the biggest things. They've changed the formulas in them several times. If you leave it in the vehicle too long, it will deteriorate hoses and seals. Some of those seals are attached to very expensive components. So the maintenance is designed to keep you from getting into those types of situations where your cost is real high or you're broke down on the freeway.
Right. Now, for me, I would think, okay, brake fluid and windshield wiper fluid and oil. I mean, those are the three things that come to mind. So
you want to make sure the wipers themselves are in good shape so you can see out of the window. Good fluid so it doesn't freeze in the real cold temperatures is very important for your windshield washers. One thing I emphasize anybody's looking at themselves is on the batteries. If they start to deteriorate, they'll leak acid, it'll get green. That's where you end up with no start conditions. Cold weather brings out the worst as far as the vehicle's harder to start. The battery's going to be, even a new battery will be at a lower state of charge in the colder weather. So if you maintain those components by themselves, it reduces the risk of being broke down in the cold weather.
So for myself, I tell my husband, can you go get my car checked? But and I'm not very well informed about what a car needs. So what would be the advice you would have for people who have to maintain their own cars, especially for women that may not know what's needed? I mean, what do they look for? And also, what are the things that maybe they're told they need that they may not need during the winter?
Well, one good thing is winterization. If you have a local mechanic, that's good. You take it there, have them look at it, make sure everything's in good order. A good mechanic will be able to tell you anything that's coming up or so on. If you're doing anything yourself, the most basic would be to check the oil. Most engines, it's pretty clearly labeled. On this particular one, it's yellow. It says engine oil on it. You would pull that stick out after the vehicle's been sitting for a period of time and read it, and it will show what level you're at.
Will you show us how to do it?
Sure. In checking the oil, what you'd want to do is make sure the vehicle has been setting for a period of time for all the oil to drain back into it. Level ground, you don't want it to be on an angle. The stick is going to have marks on it which will show you the different level. The top one being full, you would never want to go over that. Once you get it wiped off, just very gently put it back in. Wait a second, pull it back out, hold it level, and read it. And as you can see on this one, the oil is clean and it is full. They will have some oils have a little darker color to them, but it is full.
So how do you know that it needs to be changed even if it's full?
I go by mileage. Most vehicles these days, they are pretty technically aware, and they will tell you when your oil is due. And as I always tell everybody, oil's cheaper than an engine, so it's a very necessary thing to take care of on your vehicle.
Sometimes I've actually seen like little granules when you pull that out. What does that mean?
That's usually carbon buildup. It's aging or lack of oil changes. Lack of oil changes is very, very detrimental to engines. It will kill them, and then the car will either be worthless or very expensive at the least to repair.
So that's a major thing to look at.
Avoid those types of situations. Cars will tell you when something's up.
Okay. What about the carburetor?
These don't have that anymore. It's all electronic. Everything's electronic. There's actually about 18 computers in today's vehicles, and they know all kinds of stuff. So if you're aware of how your vehicle functions and the warnings, the most important thing I stress to all of my customers, it will tell you if something's wrong. Get it looked at. It's not going to go away. The button on the dashboard that says automatic repair, it doesn't work. I'm just kidding. So you will have to take it in at some point and get it serviced. But by all means, do that as quickly as you can so you don't end up stuck on the side of the road.
Well, a lot of the cars these days are computerized, and sometimes, when you do get an oil change or, you get your car serviced, you still have that little light in there that says you need service. And sometimes I just chalk it up to the fact maybe something's wrong with the light, but
it probably wasn't reset. There's reset procedures on all vehicles for that, and it is good to have that reset whenever you have those things done. So that way it gives you a timer, because it goes by mileage, and when the computer sees that mileage, it'll remind you. We're busy, we all have a lot of things going on, so it's nice to have those features on the car, but they're only good if they're used normally, and that would be to reset it.
Absolutely. So the major things that you need to look for before winter, sort of compartmentalize them for us.
Look at the battery, see what kind of condition it's in, make sure it isn't real corroded, check the oil in it, make sure it's got full of windshield washer fluid. Another thing I point out to people, when you back out of a parking spot, vehicles develop problems. Notice if there's anything under the vehicle. If there's a 6-foot puddle of fluid, something's wrong. When you're at the grocery store, and you know how they have the glass as you're backing up or backing out of a parking spot, look in your mirror and see if your taillights are working, because you don't know what's behind you. And you don't want to find out after somebody hits you, your taillights weren't working.
Or being stopped by a cop.
Yeah, well, that too,
We're working on a cop car.
Yeah, we do very proudly take care of the Dearborn Heights police cars we have for about 21 years. We want to keep them safe, and we want to keep all of our citizens safe as well. So whatever they need, we provide, so that way they know themselves, they can get the children to school, and they can get back safely.
Absolutely. So we're looking at the battery, we're looking at the oil change.
Antifreeze is a good thing for winter. Michigan is a very cold state. You got to have that checked to make sure it has a very low freezing level to it, and it's not deteriorating, because that is one of those fluids that if it's left in there too long, it will cause problems.
Okay. So is that something that's there throughout winter, spring, summer, fall, or is it something that you only put in there during the winter?
No, you always want to have that year-round, because it not only protects against freezing, it also lubricates the inside of the components in the cooling system and keeps those in good shape. Most of the components are plastic and rubber.
So if you don't use your windshield wipers very often, and that's still in there, it still needs to be changed after a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Most all of these are labeled. It will have a little symbol. It looks like a windshield. Pull the lid up. Just look inside. They'll usually have an indicator on the side. You always want to keep them full. A lot of them do hold quite a bit of fluid. That way you can keep the window clean during the winter time. Cooling systems. The coolant is very hot on cars. It runs about 200 degrees. Do not ever open this when the vehicle is hot. You would only want to do this when it's cold. It's been sitting preferably overnight. They do have bottles that have indicators on the side. You can see through them. You don't even really have to open the lid. If you do to add any, make sure it's cool to the touch, open it very gently, and then fill it with the proper coolant. If it's excessively low, there's a leak, there's something wrong, you need to get it in and get it serviced.
What is the lifespan?
Well, I mean, as far as engine coolant is what we're on. Engine coolant, yeah, you want to change that every 2 to 3 years. They do give you a wider span on that. I really don't recommend it. As far as fluid for windshield washers, you want to always check that every time you get in and out of the vehicle to make sure it functions. You don't want to find out after you're on the road, there's mud on the windshield, now you can't see that it doesn't work. So that as well as wipers. They aren't used a lot for periods of time because the weather's nice. Always check them, check the squirters, make sure you can see when you're going down the road.
Absolutely, and again, that freezes, so you need to make sure the windshield wipers during the summer months, or the winter months are working.
Another thing that you can find yourself doing relatively easy on most vehicles would be air filter. They're located in a little black box. They're usually labeled. Clips, pop them off. You can pull the box up. Filters in there. Relatively easy to replace. It is something you want to keep clean. Would be a good idea for normal operation of the vehicle. They're relatively cheap, so it's a good maintenance item.
Tires are such an important aspect of a car, and checking your tires on a regular basis is so important. So here's some tips from the top about tires.
Most important thing, tire pressure. A lot of people have tire pressure monitors in their cars. Sometimes they don't function. They'll find themselves needing to do just a regular gauge check on your tire. The best thing is a digital gauge. They do sell a lot of different ones on the market, but you always want to keep them about 30 pounds, no higher, no lower. It can end up causing issues with stability on the road, especially with the winter time coming.
How do you know when your tire pressure is not right? Usually I gauge it from when I go like 50 or 60 miles, my car starts shaking. Is that the right gauge?
Yeah, if you notice something is not right as far as the vehicle drives, definitely get the tires checked. If you feel every crack in the road, they've probably got too much tire pressure, then that would also be something you'd want to check to make sure. Again, most vehicles are about 30 pounds. You get too much in it, they'll basketball around and bounce on the road, and that can become dangerous as well. Okay, with your tires, a good quality gauge, you definitely would like, just remove the cap. It's very important to keep these caps, to keep dirt out of here. Dirt gets in here, it will develop a leak, and you'll end up with a flat tire. Just hold the gauge up to it, push down, make sure it doesn't leak, and that'll give you a perfect tire reading. This one's at 29.5. Most vehicles are about 30. The door sticker has the tire pressure on it. You'll always want to go by that to maintain proper tire pressure for the wintertime use.
So you do that all here at Matt's Auto Service. So what would someone expect if they brought their car in for something like that? I mean, how long would you need it for?
Generally, most stuff like that's a one-day service. Oil changes or small repairs are just, you come in and wait. Usually 30, 45 minutes, stuff like that. When we do those types of repairs, we always free of charge look everything over and make sure what's going on. You don't know what's under it, but by the time we change the oil and look the vehicle over, we know exactly what's going on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was definitely a lesson in auto maintenance and auto repairs, and we were getting that lesson from Matt here at Matt's Auto Service in Dearborn Heights. So thank you so much for being with us on Around Town, and make sure you get those cars checked, especially in the winter months that are coming, which some of us love and some of us are not too much of a fan of, but we'll get through the winter together. Have a good day, and thanks for joining us on Around Town.